If you zoom in on any given ecosystem around the world, you'll notice that there are many creatures that are closely related to each other. Birds can often look like other birds, reptiles can look like other reptiles, and even two separate species in different parts of the world can look almost identical to each other. This is because, of course, many creatures are closely related to each other, and even creatures that aren't closely related can look very similar to each other, or at least play a similar role in the ecosystem. But every now and again, it's possible to come across a creature that seems to stand out. There are a few creatures that seem to be the odd ones out and show no resemblance to other creatures and have no close relatives. In this video I will be focusing on these creatures as I'll be going through 5 species that really don't fit in, and for our first species we'll be heading to the forests and woodlands of Australia and neighbouring New Guinea as we have the echidnas. I'm very confident in saying that echidnas are some of the weirdest creatures on this planet. They look like they're made up of several different creatures with spikes like porcupines and hedgehogs and a face and snout more like an anteater. This gives us a clue into their lifestyle as their diet mainly consists of ants and termites. Although these mammals are quite unique creatures, they aren't completely alone, as there are actually 4 species of echidna, with one of them being named after Sir David Attenborough. The closest living relatives to echidnas are in fact platypuses, which are very strange creatures in their own right. These 2 creatures are the only egg-laying mammals, and just like the platypus, the echidna used to be aquatic. They were thought to have evolved around 20 to 50 million years ago. It descended from a platypus-like ancestor and eventually adapted to life on land. As well as having sharp spines along their back, they also have a few other defences. They are equipped with sharp claws, but these claws are mostly used for digging. When approached by a predator, they often dig a hole in the earth and then partly cover themselves, with only their sharp spines being left uncovered. You may also notice that echidnas have strange spikes on their back legs. These can be found on both males and females, and at certain times of the year these echidnas can produce venom. This venom is mostly seen in males, and is normally only produced around the mating season. It's often used on other rivals, and this spine makes the echidna one of the few venomous mammals. If all of this didn't make the echidna weird enough, the way its body runs is also quite unique. It maintains a body temperature of around 32 degrees Celsius, which is thought to be the lowest body temperature of any mammal on the planet. Not only is this a very low temperature, but its body temperature can also fluctuate drastically. On a daily basis it can go through a change of around 10 to 15 degrees Fahrenheit, and as a healthy human's body temperature only fluctuates around 0.9 degrees daily, this is quite an extreme fluctuation. Although these creatures are very much the odd ones out, they are still in peril. All of the species have been in decline over the past 50 years, facing threats from invasive species and also from other risks such as habitat loss and traffic incidents. Because of this they need your help, and I've left a donation link down below. So although these creatures may look like nothing else on the planet, they do have a relative in the platypus. But for our next species we'll be heading to the savannas and woodlands of sub-Saharan Africa as we have the aardvark. Now this animal's strange name is actually Afrikaans and basically means earth pig. This is partly because of its pig-like snout, but it also has other body parts that resemble other animals. It has long rabbit-like ears and a tail that's almost rat-like. But the aardvark isn't closely related to any of these creatures, as it's the only living species in its order. The aardvark is not closely related to any other living creature, but it's thought to be distantly related to elephants. These mammals are sometimes referred to as African ant bears, and this again gives us a clue into their diet. They are primarily insect eaters and feed almost exclusively on ants and termites. Their strange snouts help them find these insects, and they can even seal their nostrils when digging. It's quite rare to see an aardvark in the day, as they're mostly nocturnal. They use their impressive digging skills to dig their burrows, some of which can be up to 15 meters long. They rest in these burrows in the day, before coming out at night to feed. To help them catch their insect prey, they have a tongue that's 30 centimeters long, and they use this to eat up to 60,000 ants and termites per night. Although aardvarks don't have many interactions with other species, they do often directly benefit them. They often abandon many of their burrows, and these provide new homes for wild dogs, pythons, warthogs and even shell ducks. So although they may live a very similar lifestyle to South American anteaters, the aardvark really does stand out from the crowd. But for our next species we'll be heading to the forests and alpine regions of New Zealand's South Island as we have the kea. Now as I've said many times on the channel before, New Zealand is a very beautiful country with a very unique ecosystem. This was once dominated by very large birds, and today is still home to many birds that can't be found anywhere else in the world. This is the case with the kea, and also with the other members of its family. The kea is in fact related to my favourite animal, the kakapo, but they live extremely different lives. Although this bird is mostly an olive green colour, They do have blue tinges to their feathers, and when they're in flight they expose a bright orange colour. They reach an average size of around 48 centimetres, and at first glance they may look very similar to the other parrots in New Zealand. But these birds are in fact very unique, and they actually have quite a dark side. They feed on the usual parrot foods, such as berries, nectar and insects, but these keas are also predatory birds, and will feed on other species of bird, and will even scavenge on large mammals such as deer and sheep. At one point in time there was even a bounty on this bird, as they had been known to attack and kill sheep. This may seem like a very bold claim, but there is actually evidence of this. This is incredible behaviour for a parrot, as they're mostly seen as harmless, colourful birds. Despite having quite a dark side, these birds are also very playful and they are very intelligent. They have been observed using tools to solve problems, and scientists claim that they may be as intelligent as a 4-year-old child. Unfortunately today, many of New Zealand's native birds are struggling. New Zealand is one of the worst hit areas when it comes to invasive species, and the kea is one of the species that are suffering. Because of this, I've left a donation link down below, and hopefully with your help, we'll see more of these strange predatory parrots in the future. But for our next species, we'll be heading to the grasslands and woodlands of Europe, as we have the slow worm. Now not only is this creature's name confusing, but its body shape is too. It's of course not a worm, and in fact likes to feed on worms. To many people this creature may look like a snake, but if you zoom in on its head, it'll give you a clue as to what this creature really is. A slow worm has eyelids, which are not seen in any snake species. This tells us that the slow worm is actually a lizard, and is one of the strangest lizards in the world. They are often found over some of the colder parts of Europe, and they're one of the few reptiles that can survive in these climates. In the UK, they are one of only 3 lizard species, and they are often confused with snakes. Although plenty of people fear snakes, you have nothing to fear when it comes to the slow worm, and in most cases they're a good creature to have around. They feed on many invertebrates such as slugs, worms, snails and spiders, so it's actually a very good idea to keep them around if you want a healthy garden. Although the idea of a legless lizard may seem crazy at first, the slow worm's not alone. Some other lizards have very small limbs, and other lizards such as the glass lizards also have no limbs at all. So although they may seem strange at first, they do have some similar family members. But for our final species, we'll be heading to the dry plains and bushland of both East and South Africa, as we have the aardwolf. Now as we covered earlier, aardvark means earth pig. The aardwolf's name is again Afrikaansed and means earth wolf, but this strange creature isn't related to the aardvark, and it's not even closely related to wolves. It has quite a cat-like face and looks very similar to some civet species, but in fact the aardwolf is a member of the hyena family, and it is the smallest member of this family. It stands around 50 centimeters at the shoulder and is quite light compared to its relatives. Like the aardvark, the aardwolf is also nocturnal, and they also share the same taste in food. You'd think as a member of the hyena family it would scavenge on other animals, but the aardwolf is in fact an insect eater. They feed on ants and termites, and they have evolved to have very tough tongues to deal with multiple bites from termites. This tongue is also very long and sticky, and can help them eat up to 250,000 termites per night. The aardwolf is another species that takes advantage of the aardvark's burrows, so although they look completely different, they have almost identical lifestyles to each other. The aardwolf is also quite an intelligent creature, and will often memorize certain feeding grounds, so it can go back to the same termite mound and feed again and again. So although these mammals don't look like they fit in anywhere, they are just very unique hyenas. I've quite enjoyed researching this topic, so if you think you know any other creatures that could make it on this list, then let me know down in the comments below. But thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed. If you liked it, please leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more videos like these. But until next time, goodbye.